The 2021 relaunch of Splitgate solidified that Valve-style portals and old-school arena shooters are two great tastes that taste great together. Splitgate 2 carries that same melding of run-and-gun action and tactical trickery that helped the original plant its flag in the genre, so it's starting from a good place.
Nice work!
Only problem is it never makes much net progress from there. Even though the addition of character classes and a wider range of power weapons helped bring Splitgate 2 through a new threshold of promise, some of the other shots it takes through the looking glass loop around to bite it from behind, and have made me a bit less enthusiastic about the time I've spent with this free-to-play follow-up. Visually, quite a bit has changed relative to the original. Gone is the muted, more industrial look of the battle venues, replaced by lots of vibrant colors and brighter lighting.
We pulled into the lead.
That all makes it look less distinctive and more like the many games trying to catch the eye of Fortnite players. In the trade up from the grubby metal walls to the cleaner, sleeker surfaces, Splitgate 2 is also absent of the more interesting features that made the original's maps memorable. Features like deserts and trees that would be smack dab in the middle of a map, like in one of my favorites, Oasis, are now relegated to background decorations. And every surface you'll actually run and gun across feels samey across the 15 map options. Technically, you can fix that problem yourself using the returning map creator mode, now called the Lab, which is powerful enough that it's already filled with dozens and dozens of fan-made recreations of famous PvP maps from bigger games.
We've fallen behind. Let's turn this around.
To be fair, there are some more interesting and original user creations that serve as great sideshows to the main action.
Nice one.
But most of these I've tried have felt too gimmicky to be considered good replacements for the developer-made maps as far as having consistent and competitive rounds of the standard modes, to the extent that that's possible considering there's no ranked mode available currently. It's also spreading the community a bit thin. I've had a pretty hard time getting strangers to queue up for some of the wackier looking options, often sitting in lobbies alone for long periods of time in hopes some other curious Splitgaters would stumble in. I was often disappointed. Splitgate 2's biggest win, though, is in gameplay tweaks that have a huge impact on pacing from match to match. The signature portals are still the X factor, allowing you to create paths between 2 points on the map on the fly.
Opponent is going for a capture.
Once you wrap your head around how they work, they are fantastic tools for setting up ambushes,
Capture initiated. Stand strong.
tricky getaways, and even manipulating physics to slingshot you across the map. I mostly use them here like I did in 2021, pulling off one-man flanks on jerks attempting to take my team's objectives. This time though, it only takes one button to create both ends of your personal wormhole when shot in succession, making them much more convenient to use. It comes at a slight cost, in that opening one of your portals on top of an enemy's is the only way to close theirs, and that can force you to close off one of your own routes.
Opponent just got a third zone.
But after logging over a dozen hours, I much prefer this minor drawback over the anti-portal grenades of yesteryear.
Taking me.
Movement always felt smooth, quick, and controlled in Splitgate thanks to its fast, but not too fast sprinting and limited jetpacks.
Oh, well done.
In Splitgate 2, both of those things combine with a new slide mechanic to make getting around the maps feel like I remember being able to move in my best rounds of Titanfall. The jetpack seems more powerful, with more lift before cooldown than the original's version. Being able to stay aloft for longer means firefights more often begin or end in the air, adding to a level of dynamism that makes every skirmish a challenge at every single angle.
Nice one.
The standard arsenal isn't much different than the original though, which is a shame because it's not very imaginative. Most weapons have slick futuristic curves and color schemes but function exactly like the assault rifles, SMGs, and carbines you've wielded in too many other games to count. And I wasn't motivated to do much exploration of the options or customization of loadout presets because of that constant sense of deja vu. They really just make me want to sprint to grab power weapons, which spawn with some fanfare on neutral points during matches as soon as possible.
Heads up, the opposing team is closing in on the scoring threshold.
These returning super guns have gotten a couple of notable additions to their lineup, including my favorite, a pair of machine pistols that can be combined to form a longer machine gun when aiming down the sights. These are all awesome, game-changing weapons that are worth the effort to secure every time they're available. Mechanically, the biggest change to the way Splitgate 2 plays is the addition of 3 character classes. Sabrask, Meridian, and Eros all have their own unique active abilities, like my favorite, Sabrask's Smartwall. They each also have passive effects that they grant their whole team simply by being present, incentivizing teams to at least have one of each in play. That means actives are more obviously impactful than the passives, largely because I've yet to play a game where every team involved isn't receiving boosted health regen from Meridian and faster ability and equipment recharges from Eros and Sabrask respectively. Is it really a boost if it's basically the standard? Splitgate 2 matches, regardless of the mode you're playing, are almost always more fun on smaller maps.
Kickoff.
They may not be as interesting as the maps in Splitgate, but at least they are built to take the most advantage of portaling in a way that ensures you're never too far from the action.
Your opponent is going for a capture.
Double kill.
Larger maps like the ones found in the 3-team 24-player Onslaught game types can feel almost lonely because you have to run a fair distance to find some other players exchanging fire before plotting your own Portal game.
Enemy is scoring in 2 zones. We're taking D.
Across the board though, it strikes me as odd that maps seem to de-emphasize the advantage that using portals in combat would have.
Double kill.
So many objectives sit in places completely hidden from a portal wall, and it felt much more difficult to use portals for aggressive pushes.
Scoring in 1 zone.
Fortunately for me, someone who mostly uses portals to set traps and for escapes, I felt like Splitgate 2's layouts firmly established that my more passive approach is the right way to play. Firstly, oh my god, thank you so much for that 1047 games.
Payback.
But secondly, this means that offensive strikes on objectives, especially the ones you have to hunker down on like Firecracker or Domination,
Falling behind.
happen with the kinds of jetpack assaults and high energy flanks that you could do anywhere else from Tribes on down.
Opponent is taking A.
Even modes that require lots of movement or rotating objectives like Split Ball or Hot Zone don't afford many more opportunities to use this feature in a way that couldn't be done without it. The most damning realization of this came when I was playing one of the limited time No Portals playlist maps and realizing that my games didn't feel all that different without the supposedly defining ability.
That's a point.
We're on the board. Let's get another.
Finally, the big new marquee feature of Splitgate 2 is the Battle Royale mode, and it operates mostly as expected. Many teams of 4 drop into a semi-random zone on a map and fight each other to be the last squad standing.
Dropping. Here we go.
The wrinkle it adds to the genre, besides portals, is that the greater map is made up of 4 smaller maps connected to one another by jump paths and tunnels. These maps are styled as different environments. There's a snowy zone and a lava zone, for instance. So it's easy to communicate which one you're talking about when planning with your team. Splitgate 2's version of the storm closing around you is shutting down one of these regions, forcing all surviving squads towards each other in a shrinking set of rooms. The effect is mostly the same.
This world is closing. Better move soon.
What's disappointing is that the different locations aren't all that mechanically unique, so fights play out the same way no matter where you are. You certainly don't want to have shootouts while knee-deep in magma, but when determining which zone to move to next, the potential hazards of the environment was never a top factor.
Great hit.
And here, like in the other modes, portals only come into play a bit, usually to move across long distances quickly, but not very much in the heat of battle. All in all, I didn't find much going on in this battle royale worth steering your drop bus away from your current favorite fort.
That wasn't our game. You'll get another chance.
Splitgate 2 is a competent successor to the original that expands on it, but never really surpasses it. There still are few shooters you can play right now that feel as good as this one does to jump, float, and slide around in. And the new class system adds a tactical layer that sort of sacrifices the original's philosophy of simplicity for the sake of mechanical depth. Weapons are good, if largely uninspired, outside of the small handful of bangers you have to fight over in matches. But the map selection is a definite step backwards, both aesthetically and in the way they seem to discourage the regular use of the shooter's signature portals. Even though it packs in a lot of modes and content in a fair free-to-play game, the effort to bring Splitgate 2 more in line with other popular shooters has taken it a step too far away from what made the original a cult hit.
Oh, well done!
For more IGN reviews, check out our verdicts on Dune Awakening and Tron Catalyst. And for everything else, stick with IGN.
Victory!
Brilliant performance! That's how you do it. Nice work.